Good morning, everyone. It is great to welcome you all here physically, as well as those of you who are online virtually. It's great to see faces. Sometimes we don't always get the chance because we're mostly virtual meetings, but it's great to be able to have an in-person event. We are thrilled to partner today with Georgetown. What a great introduction to this campus, to this school. And really, it struck me that there's a lot of hollowed halls here and wisdom and debates that have happened over the course of a century. And what a great opportunity for us to be a part of that whispers of dialogues that might remain here. We're thrilled to also partner with the Urban Dynamics Institute from Oak Ridge National Lab. Without them, we wouldn't be where we are today. So Boodoo and your team, thank you. If you're not familiar with the Worldwide Human Geography Data Working Group, I lovingly call it the WWHGD. So that is my version of how we shorten the name. Just a few words about us. We've been around since 2011. It grew out of a need to figure out how we could collaborate and open up data sets and discover them and have conversations together about this space of human geography. We've grown to more than 4,000 members, drawn from a community of practitioners that look to share and collaborate on openly available human geography data for human security. This group is sponsored by the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and the Department of State. Each year, we organize events like this, webinars, as well as data sharing calls around complex human geography topics or in response to critical emergent events such as a natural disaster. These events are all data-driven and provide an opportunity for our membership to work across disciplines to share openly available data. Our discussion today will provide a great opportunity to continue our work to discover and catalog human geography data sources and mapping efforts, which is part of our mission. So last year, we began an initiative that we're calling the WWHGD 2.0. We created a plan to take the next step in the evolution of our working group with a focus on our community and building trust and growing our content. We wanted to create a neutral space where a community of global participants can share free and open data for human security. We also wanted to continue to develop the trust and update our current and provide increased access to the valuable human geography data. When you registered for this event today, you would have made it to our new website. We released this website earlier this spring, and in that, our human geography library is more discoverable, more easily able to be queried and cataloged. In that library, there's over 4,000 data sets, and we've linked it so that there is a web mapping application with that in it. Please check it out if you have feedback. Nobody wants to just hear my feedback, so your feedback is equally as valuable. So speaking of feedback, today's event actually originated because we had a comment from one of the webinar participants asking or suggesting that this would be a topic that we would, as a community, take on. So thank you, whoever made that suggestion. That brought us to where we are today. We value those and all other suggestions that you bring forward as a community. We want to encourage those. We've worked closely with subject matter experts in the energy and electricity access and use community to develop this agenda focused predominantly on data. We also are focusing today on the analysis and application of that data while examining how we can prepare for, respond to, and become more resilient to disruptions and shocks to energy systems using human geography data. So before we get started and kick off, I want to turn the microphone over to my co-chair, the geographer of the United States, to perhaps give us some words on how we can apply our geography hat, our spatial thinking, and challenge us through the rest of the day. Lee?
Thank you very much, Liz, and welcome everybody. This was an ambitious starting time for summertime in Washington, D.C., particularly at a university setting. So I appreciate the fact that people arrived early, and I expect we'll have some more people arrive during the course of the day. And I welcome all of those who are online. I'd also like to apologize to all of you who are soccer fans for the planning of this conference in the middle of the World Cup. So I think our participation today from our Mexican colleagues may be a little bit depressed. So thank you, Liz. I'd like to appreciate the co-chair and working with National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. I'd also like to thank Rod Schoonover from my office, who I know worked with Terry and the support team for helping to put together the agenda, and I thank the support team as well. And our co-hosts, we have Georgetown University School of Foreign Service. You heard from Joel Hellman already. I actually was teaching geography at American University when the Map of the World course was first developed here at Georgetown, quite some time ago, and also Oak Ridge National Lab, which has partnered with us on this, and Budu Baduri, who is here and you'll hear from later today, has been a great partner in the Worldwide Human Geography Data Working Group from the outset. Most of all, I'd like to acknowledge and thank our keynote speakers. We have Griff Thompson and Wes Reiser. Griff, they're both from the State Department, so I appreciate that we have our colleagues. Wes is on the agenda as a scene setter, but I really consider him sort of as a co-keynote speaker, because I think they'll tee up the event today for all of us. My father was a high school English teacher, and he used to make my brother and I diagram sentences, which we hated. I don't know if any of you probably don't do it anymore. You know, you had to go through a sentence and take each piece out and work on the grammar and find out what the subject and the verb, and we used to do it endlessly. And so I did not like English, but I maybe got into mapping because I was mapping grammar, and maybe I changed my focus to mapping countries instead. But allow me to transfer some of my some of my angst as a youth to this group today, and map out the Worldwide Human Geography Data Working Group for you all, because it is a rather inconvenient acronym and name, but I think it's important that we have all of those various words in the title because of what it is we're trying to do. So I'm going to start from the back. Right? It's a Worldwide Human Geography Data Working Group. And I think it's very key that it is a working group, because the people here only represent a small number of those who have been involved in this working group over the years. And as it builds out and as we virtually expand our knowledge base and our participant base, that's how we discover data and information that we don't have the ability to gather up, in particular from the US government. So one of the reasons we created this working group is because we realized that for human geography, it wasn't easy to do this remotely through satellite imagery or through traditional means. We really needed to partner with those who are dispersed all over the world, who are working on the ground, who are working on academic research, and to discover people and their data, right? So data is the next part of this, going from reverse, and it's very hard to try to focus a lot of the attention on data, because at the end of the day, we want to look at research activities, and most research activities are informed by data, but usually when you speak about your research activities, the data sit behind the results that you're presenting, and it can kind of be geeky or boring to focus on the data and instead focus on the implications and the results of that data. But we're trying to do both here. So as part of the presentation and as part of the participation of everyone here, we're trying to glean out as much useful data as possible. Geography is at the core of this. It's at the core of what I do, but it's also very difficult sometimes to translate a theme into geography, and even more difficult to try to map out human geography. It's easy to figure out how to map out observable, measurable features, but human geography is something that is not always easily mappable, not always easily translated into data. And part of the effort of this group is to try to figure out how to take a theme. We have 13 themes in our Human Geography Data Working Group. Look at those themes and understand how we can relate those themes to geography, and mostly to the relationship between human settlement patterns, human use patterns, and geographic features. And worldwide, I think I started with that in the beginning, and we want to make sure that we're as inclusive as possible, that our data are open and discoverable, and if data are not freely open and discoverable, we want to direct you to how to possibly get into some data sources that might be available through personal contacts, through interactions. So we encourage everybody during the breaks. We have fairly long breaks built into the sessions to encourage people to meet colleagues and to discover new data information. So the challenge today is how to make this connection between energy and geography that isn't always obvious. And we decided that the best way to do this is to talk about access to energy. Because when we're talking about access to energy, we talk about both static and non-static ways of energy production, energy consumption, energy distribution, all related to human settlement, human security, because in the world today, if you don't have access to energy, you don't really have a secure life. So we want to use access as the key. We have some regional case studies, which are always important, I think, when you're putting on your geographer's hat to get into a particular region, and hopefully they will be instructive. And then we're ending with an investigation of energy disruption. And by looking at energy disruptions, we're trying to identify critical gaps in our data that can help us better understand why we have energy disruptions, the implications of energy disruptions, and help better inform an understanding between eventually energy and access to energy. So hopefully those challenges will keep us engaged for the day. We have a great set of speakers. You have all the bios. We're not going to be spending a lot of time introducing people, but I encourage everybody during the break to get out and meet as many people as possible. I will turn this agenda back over to Terry now, and thank you for your participation.